strong circumstantial case can be made for the claims of the New Testament. For a living, examines evidence carefully, and he said, don't make it complicated. Strangers don't kill strangers. Spouses kill spouses. And then he commenced to point out the evidence that matched his proclamation. But they wasted time because he thought he knew it all. He came into the case with a presupposition, but we too can come to an investigation with presuppositions. Spiritual presupposition. When he was an atheist, he had a presupposition. It was tainted by the fact that he didn't believe in the supernatural. He didn't believe in Christianity because he didn't believe in the supernatural. Somebody shot somebody. Who was this person? He's a detective. So it fed into his real world experience and his raising. And his philosophy was naturalism. And we listed that in our introduction, these isms that are so prevalent in our world that are anti-God, anti-Christianity, and anti-truth, frankly. And so this is another definition of a philosophical naturalism. The presuppositional belief that only natural laws and forces, as opposed to supernatural forces, operate in the world. Nothing exists beyond the natural realm. Supernatural forces, they're off limits. They're outside of anything I want to think about. If that's the philosophy that I follow, they're excluded by definition. And that's where we are today in science, with the vast majority of academia. They begin with this presupposition. I was talking to Sean about this guy last week. Richard Lewontin is an evolutionary biologist, and it's kind of interesting when I did a little bit deeper dive into research biology department, which was allegedly, highly evolutionary, but they went to Arkansas expecting to meet a bunch of backwoods hillbilly dummies, and evidently Brother Bales kind of mopped the floor with them. Now that was a little sideline, but so he writes this review. He says, now listen, this is his presupposition, talking about naturalism. Our willingness to accept the scientific claims that are against common sense is the key to an understanding of the real struggle between science and the supernatural. This is kind of an admission. We take the side of science in spite of the patent absurdity of some of its constructs, in spite of its failure to fulfill many of its extravagant promises of health and life, in spite of the tolerance of the scientific community for unsubstantiated just-so stories, because we have an a priori commitment to materialism. It is not that the methods and institutions of science somehow compel us to accept a material explanation of the phenomenal world, but on the contrary, we are forced by our a priori adherence to material causes to create an apparatus of investigation and a set of concepts that produce material explanations. No matter how counterintuitive, no matter how mystifying to the uninitiated, that was Carl Sagan's his driving force. I've got to initiate these people. No matter how mystifying to the uninitiated. Moreover, that materialism is absolute, for we cannot allow a divine foot in the door. That's a lot, but basically what he said was, no, we don't let science drive us to a naturalist or materialist view. We let our materialist view drive our science. And he admits it. And the reason why? We can't allow a divine foot in the door. We can't even with me on that. It's invoking something else. How to think. We've got to enter with empty hand. We're accused of being biased at